I know you've spoken as president that you have been very inspired by the millions of Americans, both black and white, who repeatedly poured into the streets during the past year in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And for me, one of the most absorbing and revealing passages in your book describes how you decided to frame the issue of race in your 2008 campaign. If I can quote again, you wrote, "I needed to embrace white people as allies rather than impediments to change, and to couch the African American struggle in terms of a broader struggle for a fair, just, and generous society." That approach has had many fans. It's also had some critics. Do you think that that still represents the best approach for the Democratic Party to take in dealing with the historic injustices against the Black community?
I think that there's a difference between politics and getting votes and truth-telling and the prophetic voice. And this is where sometimes my role as politician versus my role as writer can diverge. James Baldwin's A Fire Next Time is a searing account of the original sin of race and how it plays out in the life of a young James Baldwin and the life of Harlem, which, when you reread it today, is as relevant as it was when it was written over 50 years ago. Now, if I spoke the language of James Baldwin as he speaks it on the campaign stump, I'm probably not going to get a lot of votes in Iowa. Even though it is as true and as important a document in understanding the realities of race relations in America as anything that's been written. But James Baldwin didn't have to go out and get votes. We have to speak a language that a broad cross-section of the population can hear. When it comes to, for example, alleviating poverty, what we've discovered, not just recently with Donald Trump, but dating back to the beginnings of this nation and on through Nixon's Southern strategy, is it's very easy for politicians who want to maintain the status quo to fan the resentments or fears of the other in the white population and suggest that it's immigrants or it's blacks or it's somebody who is stirring up trouble and trying to take your stuff. In that context, using a universal language, I think, tends to be more powerful. It is what allows then people to say, oh, okay, you want to help all poor kids. Now, the fact that disproportionately those are black kids, that's important to note. What I think has changed, and we saw this summer, is because of people's witness of George Floyd, because of what seems like a constant stream of irrefutable evidence of excessive force against unarmed black folks, that I think white America has awakened to certain realities that even 20 years ago they were still resistant to. That creates a new opening for a different kind of political conversation. That's part of why I'm hopeful, particularly about the younger generation. If I talk to white friends of my daughter, they have internalized the degree to which there are structures of racism that are still embedded in our institutions and the criminal justice system in a way that their parents might not have been as comfortable talking about. The one thing I became very persuaded about as president is the degree to which policy matters, but culture is what gives you the opportunity then to move forward on policy and to build the coalitions and get the levers that allow you to institutionalize changes. What good politics does is it sees those opportunities and can translate that into votes and legislation. But very rarely do you see the ability to get votes and legislation if the culture is entirely resistant to it.